All right, how we doing? Welcome to Flamesnation Live as the preseason is almost done. We're almost through the preseason. We're almost ready for things that matter. And we got a lot to talk about on a Thursday night edition of Flamesnation Live. If you're joining us live or whenever you might be listening in or watching after the fact. We've got lots of people on board with us. Matt is on board. Matt was in first, by the way. Sam, Mike, Shane, Dallas present, Josh, Ron, JF, Jamie, and more, all with us. Lots to get to on the live chat. Get your questions in or your comments in on the live chat as well. Always love to get the live interaction on Flames Nation Live. My name is Pat Steinberg. We're at the Sportsnet 960 downtown studios, and we can tell you that Flames Nation Live is, as always, brought to you by our friends at DoorDash, where if you're a first-time user of DoorDash, you can use the promo code FlamesNation, the Flames Nation promo code, rather, of FNLiveDD. Once again, that is FNLiveDD, and by doing so, you are going to get 25% off your first order and free delivery. FN Live DD. Use the promo code if you want to use DoorDash. They bring you Flames Nation Live each and every time. Happy, as always, to have DoorDash on board with us. Let's start with the big news of the day, and that is that news on your screen right now. A 2-game suspension for Flames forward Blake Coleman coming from a hit on Jansen Harkins of the Winnipeg Jets last night. It's a 2-game suspension that includes 1 regular season game. So the final preseason game tomorrow and also the regular season opener on October 16th in Edmonton will be minus Blake Coleman. I'll be honest with you. I was not expecting a suspension that lost Coleman regular season games. Look, I thought it was a hit that should be penalized. I thought it was a hit that didn't need to happen. It was clearly from behind. I just thought it to me looked like he let up on it a little bit when, and this is just my interpretation, others have different, and that's fine. But when I saw it, I thought he let up on it a little bit after he realized what was happening. And, yeah, it was a clear 2-minute penalty. It was called a 2-minute penalty. And I thought at most $5,000 fine or whatever you want to do there, but I didn't think a suspension. So I was a little surprised. I mean, I'm never really surprised at what the Department of Player Safety does because it's a roll of the dice with them. But I was a little surprised to see that go a 2-game suspension and a little surprised to see that he was going to be suspended for an actual game with meaning. I won't lie. So, yeah, I was not expecting that for Blake Coleman. Curious as to what you think. Michael thought it was a cheap shot, so he obviously did think that it should be a suspension. Sam wonders what's my take on the Blake Coleman suspension. That's where I am on it, but I know that other people have different opinions on it. That's just where I fell in on what I saw or the way I interpreted it, and look, a lot of these things, most of the time, you interpret them differently, and that's fine. So it is for a team that is looking to get off to a good start, for a team that hasn't gotten off to a good start in a long, long time. It's been 7 years since the Flames have had a good start to the season, going back to the 2014-15 year where they had that miracle run and made the playoffs. It's been that long since they've had a good start to the season. And for a group that is trying to get back to the playoffs, they would like to have a better start to the season than they have in recent years. Let's dive in on the live chat right now. Let's start with Mike. Does Shillington stay or go? Well, as of right now, Mike, and I thought Shillington was just okay in the game against Winnipeg on Wednesday, I think he's played himself onto the roster. I think that he has earned himself, even as it stands right now. I think he's earned himself a shot in the opening day lineup, let alone on the opening day roster. I don't know if that's the way the Flames are going to go about it, but from what I've seen from Shillington, I think he deserves a shot to play on opening night in Edmonton. We'll see if he goes in the preseason finale against the Jets on Friday, or if they go in a different direction on the blue line. But for me, Mike, I think Shillington has absolutely deserved himself or earned himself an opportunity to play. So he is waiver eligible. He has to clear waivers to go to the American League. And right now, as Ryan Pike said on the big show with me earlier this week on Sportsnet 960, Shillington's probably played himself into a waiver claim in that if they were to put him on waivers, he's played so well that he'd probably get claimed. Had you asked me whether or not Shillington would get claimed going back to the beginning of training camp, I probably would have said no. But the way he's played, he's probably put himself in that situation where they might lose him if they were to put him on waivers. Shane wants to talk a little bit about the goaltending. Says the guy in net last night helped quite a bit. Yeah, I've been quite impressed with Dan Vladar throughout the preseason. He finishes his preseason with a .917 save percentage. He makes 111 saves on 121 shots. I've liked Vladar. I've liked his positioning. I've liked his athleticism. I like how reactive he is, how reflexive he is. And when you combine that with a big frame at 6'5", I'm quite encouraged about what I've seen from the backup goalie. Now, only the preseason. And I very much grade on a sliding scale in the preseason. But I've quite liked Dan Vladar to this point. And if he can continue to play like that in the regular season, that is very, very important and could help in keeping Jacob Markstrom's load down this year. Dallas says, I want Jack Eichel, send down Zadorov and Goodbranson, trade Lucic to Seattle. I'll get on that. I'll see what I can do, Dallas. Look, I still think Jack Eichel's a possibility. I don't know if we are closing in on a Jack Eichel resolution with anybody in the Buffalo Sabres, but I do think the Flames are still interested in him, and I still think that there is a chance that they could acquire him. I just don't know if we're knocking on the door for it. It's just right now there needs to be an NHL team that is willing to meet Buffalo's price. And unless Kevin Adams comes down on his price, which he doesn't seem like he's going to do anytime soon, I don't know any team that is going to meet the price and take on the risk that is the $50 million risk that is Jack Eichel. So I don't know if we talked to Frank Saravalli on the show of Daily Faceoff of this network, and his point was, I don't know if it's coming anytime soon. They still seem very much in a stalemate standoff. So, yeah, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. This from Brooks. Should the Flames make a serious move to get Brady Tkachuk? Well, yes, but I don't know if there's a realistic world where there is a serious move to get Brady Tkachuk. Ottawa holds the cards in that regard. I don't think they're trading him. They want Brady to be right now. It's just, is it a bridge deal or is it a long-term deal? That's what I think. Brady Tkachuk plays the year in Ottawa and plays out the next few years in Ottawa. Why would Ottawa be trading away the future of their franchise? I know that everybody wants Brady and Matthew to play on the same team. I get it, but why would the Sens be doing that remains my question at this point. What else we got on the live chat right now is we're talking a little bit about all kinds of Flames topics. Somebody else says no to Eichel unless he's healed. And that's the other thing. Is there a chance that we see Eichel go back to Buffalo, get the surgery, go back to Buffalo, play 10 or 12 games with the Sabres, and then have a trade be made? I'm less confident that that's going to happen, but it could be an outcome that we see at some point here as a potential way to solve this Jack Eichel situation. You're locked on Flames Nation Live. It's Pat Steinberg along with you from Sportsnet 960 The Fan, and this portion of Flames Nation Live is brought to you by our friends at Deuce Vodka. You can always check out Deuce at your local liquor store. And if your local liquor store does not carry Deuce Vodka, make sure that they bring it in. Deuce Vodka is available where all fine spirits are sold in Alberta. By the way, the Flames do lose by a score of 3-2 in Winnipeg last night. That is preseason game number 7 of 8. The preseason wraps up on Friday night against the Jets again. 7 o'clock face-off on Sportsnet 960 The Fan. We'll be on the air at 6 o'clock with your Calgary Flames warm-up. and then an 8-day wait for the start of the regular season. So preseason ends Friday. The regular season doesn't start until the following Saturday on the road in Edmonton. Let's get to it. Back to the live chat. This from Sam. What about Walker Dewar? Does he play opening night in Edmonton? I don't think so, Sam. I think Walker has done great things for himself. I think that he has had a strong training camp, and I think he has done everything he can possibly do to put himself in a better spot. I just don't think it is enough for him to start the year at the NHL level. And that's not a knock on Walker at all, because I think what he's done is really impressive. And I think he will play NHL games this year. My gut right now, I don't see him in the opening night lineup in Edmonton. I don't see him on the opening night roster, but good for him. It's a really positive story. Like, when I think of positive stories at camp, I think of Vladar, I think of Shillington, I think of Godin, and I think of Walker Dewar. And of those four, Dewar is by far the most surprising. By far the most surprising in that respect. This from Robert. What's it been like going from dealing with Jeff Ward to dealing with Daryl Sutter, who can be short with the media at times? I don't really have a problem with it one way or the other. Daryl is very much, especially in the heat of or in the teeth of the season, he can be a guy who can be very short with the media. Doing the media is not his favorite thing. It's not what he wants to be doing on a game day. In saying that, I have no problem with working with Daryl from a media standpoint. I find that he answers your questions. Sometimes he might not give you a 40-second response, but I don't have a problem with it. I mean, different people are different in the media. It's not Daryl's favorite thing to do, and that's okay. I still find that I learned a lot from him when he does do media, and when you ask him a question, he'll give you an answer. It might be a short answer, but I asked to get an answer. So if I'm hey, are you splitting your goalies tonight? You say, yeah, no, we're going to split the goalies tonight. Or what did you think of Dylan Dubé at center? Yeah, I thought he was good. I think he's played with confidence. I don't have a problem with that. Others do, others might. I get that. But I thought I'd answer that question. It's an interesting question from Robert. Ryan says, if they were to trade someone for Jack Eichel, it'll be like Martin at St. Louis all over again. JF asks, will we see the final roster tomorrow night? Well, no, because Blake Coleman won't be playing because Coleman is suspended. I don't know if we'll see the final roster, because I do think a couple of guys who are on the bubble will play. So I'm curious as to whether or not we see Valimaki and Stone. I'm curious as to whether or not we see Godin again. So it won't be quite the final roster tomorrow, but it will be close. It will definitely be close to the opening day roster. Brooks on Walker Dewar says, I feel Walker would be on this roster if they make a major trade and lose a Dubé-type roster player. Maybe, although I think they might lean towards Godin before they move to Dewar too, just because Godin's got a little bit more professional experience. Let's be honest. Walker Dewar's got 5 games of professional hockey, and I think it will do him good to take this training camp where the head coach is clearly a fan, have him go back to Stockton, play 20 or 30 games down there, get the confidence level up that much more, and then maybe you get a recall in the season. That to me seems like the most realistic and positively realistic route for Walker Dewar to go. And finally from Eric, here's an ominous question to wrap us up on the live chat today. If they don't make the playoffs, what are the odds Tkachuk wants out? It wouldn't surprise me. I think that guy wants to win. He has a lot of control over his own destiny after this year if there's no long-term extension. He's got the ability to walk right to free agency by accepting a $9 million qualifying offer, and the Flames will tender him that qualifying offer because it would make, well, quite honestly, no sense not to. I don't know for sure. I just do think, based on Matthew's comments a little earlier, going back to late September when talking about Brady's contract, knowing how the Brady contract has gone to this point, knowing how Matthew's last contract negotiation went, I do think that there's going to be some sweat. There's going to be some different ups and downs to figure out what the next step is for Matthew Tkachuk in his time with the Flames. Whether it's a long-term contract, whether it's a whether it's a long-term contract. I'm just going to do this for a second. There we go. Just didn't want to make you see me cough or hear me cough, so I thought I'd put the DoorDash logo back up for just a second. Yeah, whether it's a long-term contract, whether it's another short-term contract, or whether it's a trade, I think there's going to be some real juggling and ups and downs when it comes to what the future of Matthew Tkachuk with the Flames ends up looking like. Great stuff on the live chat, as always. We'll be back again this weekend with another edition of Flames Nation Live. We'll get Pike on Saturday and Sunday. Once the preseason is done, we can start to make some projections as to what the final roster is going to look like. This episode and every episode of Flames Nation Live brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. Use the DoorDash code FNLiveDD. Once again, FNLiveDD. Thank you for your interaction. Stay kind to one another. Be safe and enjoy the final preseason game on Friday night. We'll be back in a couple of days with another edition of Flames Nation Live, brought to you by DoorDash. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for stopping by.